Guys, let's rock. I'm Kendall Hoeft. I'm a life coach, and today I'm talking about one of my favorite freaking topics in the whole world, which is overcoming perfectionism. See, God does not want you to spend your life on the treadmill of perfectionism, and neither do I. I want you guys to live free. I want you to feel safe and secure and happy with who you are. I don't want you to feel like you always have to be striving and achieving and that you're never enough, because that's a lie. You are enough, and you're awesome. All right, so how did you become a perfectionist? Well, generally this comes from our families of origin. So it's not like your parents ever sat down and said, I'm going to turn this child into a compulsive perfectionist, right? It was more in the subtle negative messages that were demonstrated to you as a child that communicated message one, the almost message. You're almost there, but you're not quite there. Sometimes they compare you to a sibling. You did that almost as well as your brother, or your grades were almost as high as they needed to be. So real talk, which is my jam, I'm going to tell you about my family of origin because I believe that sharing my story will help to empower you and help you to hopefully connect in some way and relate to a real person's story. See, I can talk in general, vague, abstract, metaphorical terms, but I feel like in order to really help you to see and to connect with this message, I'm going to share real life examples because I think that that's the most powerful, and I'm here to serve you in this journey. So, I always tried to please my grandparents, and I was never good enough, it seemed. And this was communicated in I'll give you examples. So setting the table, right? And instead of being like, wow, like look how pretty you put the cups, and at least give me 50-50 encouragement to negative critical feedback. I'm a kid. But it's like, all I heard was like, oh, the spoons are supposed to go this way. Or like, oh, you forgot the napkins are supposed to be folded again. Or, the fork is in the wrong spot. So it's like, no matter what you fixed, you couldn't get it perfect. And so you're always receiving criticism. And parents, if you're watching, like, I'm just going to vamp here for a second to say, like, it's so important to validate your children in the things that they're doing good and the things that they are, and the things that they are accomplishing. It's so important to celebrate them for the things that you see in them and not just what they're doing right. A lot of times it's very common for children to get praise only when they've succeeded, only when they've achieved, only when they've got that degree, or, they just got the new job. But I'm talking about celebrating your children's who. I'm talking about soul level, saying, Johnny, you're such an amazing boy. Jill, you have such a beautiful soul. I love your lightness. I love your who. I love who you are. And so children begin to understand that in order to receive mommy and daddy's approval, praise, affirmation, and ultimately love, they don't have to do anything. That they need to know that they're accepted and loved for who they are. Their who is the emphasis, not the do. And that doesn't mean that we can't acknowledge children when they do something good. Positive behavioral reinforcement's great. But what I'm saying is that should not be the only comments that they hear. Okay, so let's take it down a level where it's not a matter of what kind of positive approval you're receiving, but it's literally all you're receiving is negative critical feedback. You could have an amazing outfit on, and then it would be, oh, you're really wearing those heels? Or like, did you really think that was the right color to wear today? Or don't you need a haircut, dear? Or like every freaking time you get together, it's criticism. And that tears a relationship apart. That doesn't make the child or the human being feel safe, secure, loved, appreciated, validated, welcomed. So it's very dangerous. So, okay, another example of this almost message, which is one of the messages that children hear that leads to perfectionism. This was one of the messages I heard in my life that kind of caused my own emotional problem of perfectionism. And I said this in the last video, but perfectionism is an emotional problem. It's not a virtue. It's not a virtue to be a perfectionist. You know, we always see that on job interviews. You know, they ask for what's your weakness? And you're like, well, I'm just such a perfectionist. Like, that actually is a weakness. It's a very sad, internal, compulsive, striving, identity-based behavior where it's like these people, and I used to be one of them, like cannot freaking rest and cannot celebrate the good. As soon as you finish, it's attacking yourself for what you possibly did wrong. If you made any mistake, which we all do because we're all humans, we're all imperfect and fallible in that way. But instead of celebrating the good or the accomplishments, you can't even see that. You cannot even see all of the good. It's like you created this piece of art and you're honing in on this one. Oh, that should have been a lighter shade of pink. Next time. Oh, I should have known better. Oh, how could you? Well, we've been over this. And you're just attacking yourself with the same stuff that your parents or your grandparents or your sibling or your significant other used to berate you over. And so those very voices that told you that you weren't enough or told you that, things could always be improved upon and, what was accomplished was rarely acknowledged and you're always receiving that critical feedback, children learn to think in that voice. So if you're a parent, you're either developing and feeding a positive, supportive voice inside of your child's head, a positive sense of self-esteem, a positive sense of self-love and self-value, or you're basically tearing them down. So it's really important to consider how we speak to our children. And a lot of this, guys, flows out of how you view yourself. So if you're a parent and you're really hard on yourself and you're really critical and you can't let yourself off the hook and you're standing in judgment of yourself, naturally that's going to flow over into your children because judgmental people always judge themselves too. They're not just pointing the finger at others. They actually hold themselves, maybe even more so in a harsh, strict, judgmental, punishing perspective. It's really sad, you guys. Just like if you have self-love, that's usually going to flow, and it is going to flow into love for others. So love is this flow. If I'm loving myself, I'm loving God, I'm loving others, I'm loving nature, I'm flowing in love. And likewise, if I'm living in a judgmental state, in a critical state, that's going to affect everything. That's going to flow into everything. So are we getting this almost message? Do we understand that it's saying no matter how much you attain, no matter how good you look, no matter how smart you are, no matter how much money you make, no matter what you do, it is not enough. That's the lie. And that tells you inside that I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough is what the lie just repeatedly says. If you get a report card and it's mostly A+, but you have one A, you have one, God forbid, B+ or B-. What is your focus? Do you see the glass is half full? Do you say, oh my gosh, I got A's and B's? I'm amazing. This is fun. Wow, I worked hard. Guys, this is amazing. Cheers to me, and this is incredible what I did. Oh, good job, self. Good job, self. I'm so proud of you, self. Wow, you did so good. Wow. Do we celebrate ourselves like that? Or do we critique and berate and harm and hurt our poor soul, I'm trying to say selves and souls, our poor souls / selves with that imperfection? If that is a message that's going on in your head, then you might be struggling with perfectionism. I'm going to continue to make videos about understanding perfectionism, and I'm going to make videos about overcoming the emotional problem of perfectionism so that you can experience joy, rest, peace, and freedom. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kendall Hoeft. If you're watching on YouTube, I invite you to subscribe to my channel for more videos. Love you guys. Bye.